Hello, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. What's going on in your life today?
Well, I need help in trying to figure out what's going on with my husband. I'm very confused, and I'm just about crazy trying to figure out his behavior. It doesn't make sense.
Well, what's he doing that doesn't make sense? And maybe we can help you make some sense of it.
Well, in around 2004, he came to me and he told me that he thought that my mother was coming on to him.
Okay.
And I told him I wasn't surprised because I had some issues with my mom before, and I told him I would just watch things. And I watched her, and I saw her doing what she normally does. She's quite a flirty person.
Mm-hmm.
But his behavior was what confused me. He, on one occasion, he slapped her on the behind. Another occasion, she was dressed up nice, and he told her she looked sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Another occasion, she asked him to massage her back, and she bent over in front of him, and he massaged her back. And when we came home, he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I know that made you uncomfortable." And he has even went behind my back and talked about me to my mom.
Oh, my goodness.
And all of this is really confusing me because I'm like, you telling me that she's coming on to you, but I don't see you doing the behavior that would accompany that. You're
right.
not telling her no, you're not backing off, you're encouraging the wrong type of behavior.
And what kind of discussions are you having with your mother, too?
Well, I have not talked to my mom because I have really kind of distanced myself from her. I decided her behavior, it's been something that was ongoing. She was causing more problems than none, so I just decided to love her from a distance. She would call me and make all kind of comments. I can get your husband to do more than you can, and all of this and that.
Uh-huh. So why do you go over there and spend time with her if she's saying stuff like that? Why would you be around anybody that would be saying, I can get your husband to do more stuff than you can?
Well, in the past, I guess because I loved her so much and I had kids, and it took me a long time to really realize that there was a problem with her.
Right.
And to distance myself from her.
Yeah.
But now I'm focusing more on my husband because I see some of the same behaviors again because I have a niece that asked me if she could come and stay here temporarily.
Uh-oh.
You know, she's grown. And within a week of her being here, I noticed that both of them smoke, and both of them were extended periods of times out in the garage smoking. And one time he got up, we were looking at a movie, he got up and left me and my son, and he went out with her for 45 minutes.
Okay.
And a red flag came up to me because I'm like, I don't know, what is he doing? Is he going to go out there and try to stir up stuff and talk about me again with another family member? Or what is going on with him?
So what happened when you got up and checked on it?
Well, what I did was I confronted both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I told her and him that I was uncomfortable with their being out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that there had been family problems with regards to trust issues with him, and that I was uncomfortable.
So what happened?
Okay, she pretended like she didn't have a problem with it, and he said, well, okay, I understand. He went ahead and told her that he didn't really want her there, but it's something he had to work on. But still, since then, I've gotten up at 2 o'clock in the morning. He's out in the garage, and she's coming up the stairs from being out in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like...
Well, let's see what Mylon thinks about this. But first, is there a specific question that you want us to answer with regard to this?
I don't know who is where the problem lies. Is there something with my husband that I'm missing, or am I overreacting to this guy?
It doesn't sound like you're missing much, huh?
I don't
Looks
know.
like you're seeing a lot.
Yes.
2 a.m. in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
In the garage.
Mm-hmm.
You got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're not overreacting, I don't think. But we'll hear from Mylon when we come back from this break, okay?
Okay.
All right. You know, you're either together or you're not. You're either committed to each other or you're not. You're either growing together or you're growing apart. And we can't let mothers and nieces and other people be the excuse when it's a husband that's the one that's drifting or wandering or being blatantly unfaithful. We got to take care of that problem. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more. 1-800-229-3000. 1-800-229-3000. That's the phone number if you want to join us on the program. Talking with Elizabeth. the mother, her mother, Elizabeth's mother, comes on to the husband, and he responds. Niece moves in. They're out in the garage together at 2 a.m. in the morning, in the black of night. Oh, my goodness. Mylan, what do you think?
Elizabeth, did you ever see the movie The Bucket List?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember the scene where Morgan Freeman is sitting in this restaurant area, and this woman comes up and offers him to go up to her room?
Yes.
And he says, no, I have my wife at home that I love.
Yes.
And Jack Nicholson had set all that up to test him to see if he really meant that. And the lady said to him, wow, you really did pass the test because you didn't know who I was. And as I watched the movie, I thought, how many of us men would pass that test like Morgan Freeman did in that movie?
Yes.
And, one of the things that every man's battle teaches men, and what all of us men have to learn to do, is to control our sexual predatorial tendencies.
Urges, you could say.
And urges, the urge to merge. And so if we don't ever have anybody teach us how to do that, or we don't know that that's God's standards for a man's mind to learn to control his thoughts, nobody's ever working on it. So we will find ourselves just enjoying flirtatiousness. It gives us a little adrenaline kick and a little euphoric little hit that feels good to us. And I was talking to somebody recently whose mother was 80 years old, just like your mother, and they were at a family function, and she had a group of men all around her, and she was working the guys, at 80 years old. She was loving being the center of attention. She was being provocative, et cetera, et cetera. And so you put those two things together, the immature female that needs lots of attention and uses her sexiness to draw the attention of a male, and you take a person who's undisciplined with respect to being able to control themselves and their impulses, and that's a bad combination.
I agree.
Yeah. So I don't think you are at all misreading things.
Me either.
And I think you have a right to say to your husband, what are you going to do, instead of just saying it's about the niece and the mom, what are you going to do about this general tendency that all men struggle with, which is to learn to control yourself?
But then, too, there are other issues, too, with him, which also confuse me, because, see, he has never wanted me to be around his family member. When we first got married, he didn't want me talking to his family members, and he keeps me over here in a vacuum. But he can go and he can talk to his family members.
He's got a double standard now, doesn't he?
You know what I suspect?
That's not confusing. I mean, he's jealous and doesn't want anybody to mess with his,
or
possessions. Or what were you going to say?
He doesn't want the family members connecting with her and talking and giving her a couple of more pieces to the puzzle, because they know he has a reputation of this all his life, and so he wants to put his past in the past to give him freedom to do what he wants to do now. He doesn't want to be pegged.
Right.
And I think exposure to the family is a risk for him, that they're going to say, "Hey, yeah, how you handling it?"
Because he's worked them. They love him to death. I'm the bad guy here.
You're the bad guy?
Right.
Yes.
Because you have boundaries and you're willing to recognize there's a problem. So, Elizabeth, you said, I'm confused several times during this conversation. And I don't think you need to be confused.
No.
You have a husband who has wandering eyes. You have a husband that doesn't necessarily know how to control himself. He doesn't know how to create security with you. And I think, he really needs to go to an Every Man's Battle workshop where a woman where men can learn that a woman is a person, not an object, a sexual object. Because this world simply promotes the concept of sexuality and the objectification of women, making them objects.
What would you do if you found out that he had invited a woman to dinner and had dinner with her at a very dark restaurant, romantic restaurant, and they spent the evening dancing together? What would your reaction be if you found out about that?
I wouldn't be shocked. Because,
okay, but what would you do?
I would confront him about it.
And then what would you do? Would you do anything, or would you just talk about it?
Well, I don't know what I could do.
Well, you could say, honey, that's unacceptable. And we're either going to get some help or I'm not going to be here for you.
Okay.
Okay? Now, here's my point. Being in the garage with a niece at 2 a.m. in the morning is kind of somewhere in the betrayal equivalent of dinner with somebody in a restaurant and dancing for the night. Do you see what I'm saying?
I agree.
That is blatant betrayal of you to get up out of bed and not wake you up and go out in the garage with the niece at 2. It's a big...
And when she came up the stairs, because I didn't catch them right there together. I caught her coming up the stairs. She was completely clothed, but he was outside, and there was no doubt in my mind where she was coming from. And when I talked to them about, we just smoking. They're always just smoking. And now, want to go out in the back.
It's the equivalent of him taking her to dinner and having a night of dancing, them deciding to meet up in the garage at 2 a.m.
Elizabeth, if you don't really look at this as a larger problem, that your husband doesn't know how to create love and intimacy and security with you, and that he is a wandering person in terms of his mind, his eyes, his behaviors.
Yeah.
If you don't stop and ask, what am I going to do about this in the bigger picture? That is, would I create a separation and with an ultimatum that you have to get help before we live together again, or that we must go to marriage counseling and address this, and that your husband doesn't see a problem here. You're just a nag at this point, you see.
Yes. Yes, I am.
But not in my eyes. You're the one that's saying truth. There's something wrong here.
All right.
And the question is, what are you going to do about it, as Steve was saying? And you have to have a strategy in mind. I would talk to a counselor, a pastor, somebody, and I would try to create some interventions. Do you have a local church where a group of men know this your husband?
No, we don't.
All right.
Every time I want to go to church, he's like he doesn't want any parts of church.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I just think that probably there's a 9 out of 10 chance that he's having sex with the niece.
Now, how do I get... She's still in my house. How do I get her out of here?
Well, you tell her, you and my husband being in the garage at 2 a.m. in the morning smoking together is an act of betrayal of me. If that had been me and I had gone out to smoke in the garage and your husband was there, I would have turned around and left. But
that's what I've confronted her and asked her how would you feel.
So you have to leave now, because I was nice to you. I gave you something and you abused that. You have to leave. And then I would be saying to my husband, you betrayed me with my niece and you've done some betraying things with my mother. We can't live here together until you get some help. He needs help.
He does.
You're right. He has a problem. But the question is, will you make the bold move to where he knows he must get help for that problem, because he's not going to get help for the thing that makes him feel alive and feel like a man. And you need other people telling him how to change, not you.
Right, because and it doesn't seem he like people egg him on to make him feel good. Like I said, my family members and stuff. Oh, he's the greatest guy. You're lucky to have him. He's a good husband, and he thinks he's all right. And that's why I say I'm so confused, because they're telling him all this great stuff, and I'm sitting over here looking like I'm crazy.
Elizabeth,
and I know I'm not.
You're not confused, but it's confusing when you continue to allow it to happen.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you so much.
I'm going to send Walking into Walls to you.
Okay.
And I hope that will help you.